and we are going to start down in Fayetteville, Arkansas. We alluded to it earlier. The Auburn Tigers, man, the Auburn Tigers with Hugh Freeze, they are starting to put a really quality season together. I'll tell you what. Now, Auburn, for all intents purposes, they're not going to compete for the SEC West. That was never an expectation for Auburn this season. But they've rolled up into Fayetteville, Arkansas, and not only did they find a way to win this game, that's not the hugest surprise for me, so to speak. What really raised an eyebrow for me was that the fact that this game was a complete blowout. This was over essentially at halftime. Like, it's complete domination from quarter one, opening whistle, to the final whistle that happened in the entire game. It was a complete dominating game for the Auburn Tigers. Auburn wins massively. They win 48-10. They killing the hopes and dreams of the Arkansas Razorbacks. And you got Arkansas fans thinking, is Sam Pittman still our guy? That's what kind of game this was. When those types of questions being brought up, that's never a good feeling. And a big reason why Auburn was able to win this game, Peyton Thorne, is he a mobile guy after all? This would be news to me, because not only, Peyton Thorne, did a solid job of taking care of the ball, 12 for 20, 163, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. He almost had 100 yards on the ground. That, I believe, is that a season high? We're going to do a discount double check to see if that is indeed a season high. So the only game where he had more yards, actually 2 other games. Well, we're not going to count the Stanford game. That's an FCS matchup. The only other game that Peyton Thorne had more rushing yards than he did in this Arkansas game when they hosted Georgia. And in that Georgia game, he had 92 yards. Peyton Thorne had nearly the same amount, 88 yards. Also had a touchdown on the ground. This is not a guy that really strikes me as that mobile dual threat quarterback. I see Peyton Thorne as more of that traditional pocket passer, but hey, to his credit, he's finding ways to at least keep the defense honest. I wouldn't call him a dual threat quarterback by any means, just because the box score may suggest that and he has his spurts, but Peyton Thorne finds a way to keep the defense honest, and that's really how a big way to go and set the tone. He had 250 yards of total offense, 4 total touchdowns as well. And this was a game that Auburn, like I said, they dominated from the get-go. Auburn was able to open this game up with a 75-yard opening drive, which was capped off by Peyton Thorne. Not to mention Arkansas forcing a punt on their first drive as well. And then Keontae Scott. It's always a good day when the special teams are getting involved as well. Keontae Scott takes that, crimps it for 74 yards, and it just feels like the energy in the stadium. By the way, according to ESPN.com, that was a sellout game too. That's how you know that the energy in the stadium is not going to be good vibes at all. I'm going to say it like that, right? Because when you already have a 14-0 lead after only touching the ball a couple of times, it's going to be a long day. And that is how you get a stadium as big as what we have in Razorback Stadium. That's how you get it quieter. So quiet, matter of fact, that it sounds like you can find a squirrel farting. That's how quiet that stadium could be. At least it certainly felt like that in this particular game. And it was even like Auburn was coming off of a pretty rough game from a defensive aspect. So that's why it was also a little bit of a surprise. They gave up quite a bit of yardage in that Vanderbilt game. Didn't lead to points, but definitely is coming off of a rough day. Or Arkansas, actually, shoot. I'm talking out of my butt. I apologize, but I meant to say Arkansas. They had a season high in offensive yards, and that enables them to pull this upset off against the Florida Gators. Oh boy, did they fall back down to earth, because Arkansas was not able to really find a rhythm. They needed 5 drives in this game just to avoid a 3-and-out. when you start the game out with 4 3 and outs in a row, I mean, it's hard to, you can't win games if you have a goose egg on the scoreboard. And for the first 4 drives, what they end up doing, not only putting up a goose egg, they didn't even so much as get a first down. They also end up with only 110 yards of total offense, a few points as well. That actually, a lot, and the only reason they got those 3 points, by the way, was an interception. That was Payton Thorne's only mistake that allowed Arkansas to start at Auburn's 20, and it still only leads to 3 points. So rough day for the Arkansas Razorbacks, but all of the credit in the world to Auburn. You know, fast starts, they've been good. 2 of his Auburn team this year, they seem to have done a pretty good job of managing the game if they get out to that early lead. But some hard questions have to be asked at Arkansas, right? We've already went ahead and seen some full-scale changes around the conference. Texas A&M recently went ahead and fired its head coach. Mississippi State did the exact same thing. They fired Zach Arnett. Does Arkansas consider pulling that plug as well on Sam Pittman? Because this would be the type of game where you go ahead and do that. This is how bad the Arkansas program has been at the very least. Arkansas, not only they've been eliminated from postseason play, essentially 7 losses, they're not going to be bowl eligible. But they have to find a way to win their season finale against Missouri. And Missouri is playing great football right now to avoid their 4th one-win or fewer season in SEC play since 2013. Matter of fact, the only team in the conference since in that last decade that has a worse conference record in the SEC, Vanderbilt. When you're thrown into the same sentence as Vanderbilt football, you are not having a very good time right now. And it was one of those games where, listen, the season was already going to be a disappointment. You're 3-6, but hey, you're favored. And if you can get past this Auburn team, maybe you can find a way after you take care of business against FIU. Yes, we are going to still wrap that up as a dub. You can find a way to pull a big upset at the end of the season against Missouri. Maybe you can, do a little bit better job in recruiting in the transfer portal, but you could do that with some extra practices, because the extra practices for a team like Arkansas, that could be critical. That could be extremely critical. Kills those dreams extremely quickly. Now, that being said, Sam Pittman has already made some partial changes to the coaching staff. They did end up firing Dan Enos. Dan Enos is no longer the offensive coordinator, but Pittman might be on some tenuous ground. I don't think he ends up getting fired this year. I don't think Sam Pittman does get fired this year because Sam Pittman in the last 3 years has earned bowl berths. The real question is for Arkansas, is that enough? Will the Arkansas fan base be patient in allowing Sam Pittman to turn this around? That is a tougher question because it really tries to get into the Arkansas psyche and do they think they deserve more than what they have gotten from Sam Pittman? And I really don't know the answer to that, but some ugly discussions that might have to take place. And we've already seen the coaching carousel in effect. Michigan State also still looking for a head coach as well. 2 games left in the season. Does Arkansas think they go ahead and pull the plug so that they start on their next search? You never know. But one key stat that I wanted to go into, we talked about Payton Thorne quite a bit in this little preview right here, but Auburn really, the big reason why Auburn was really able to win was their ability to run the ball on the ground. And boy, did they pound that thing on the ground. Tigers ended up running for over 350 yards, which is the most against an SEC opponent since 2016, when ironically was also against Arkansas, and they ran for close to 550 that particular day. So Auburn has a pretty bright couple of games ahead of them. They got New Mexico State New Mexico State has clinched a berth to the Conference USA Championship, but I don't expect New Mexico State to compete with Auburn. That wouldn't be a realistic expectation. And then you got Alabama. You have Alabama for the Iron Bowl. You could be coming into that game on a 4-game winning streak. Alabama also riding a winning streak of their own. Could be a very enticing matchup here in the regular season finale. We'll see if Auburn can pull that upset in a couple of weeks, but great win by Auburn and able to earn bowl eligibility, doing so in spite of being on a 4-game losing streak. So this has been a year of streaks for Auburn. They start a year on a 3-game win streak, then they've lost their next 4 games. Now they're currently lining another 3-game winning streak. So, hey, great job by Auburn. They're bowl eligible. And now they're guaranteed, because it's the SEC, they'll be guaranteed to get some extra practices at the end of the season. And that could help build some momentum for this Auburn program as Hugh Freeman progresses into year number 2.